homeschooling isn't always picture perfect. Welcome to Homeschooling with Dr. B, where we'll help you find solutions to the challenges you face and celebrate your successes with you. Now, please welcome your host, Dr. B.
Welcome, my tenacious homeschool tribe. You know, I know that I'm giggling, but that's because people's opinions never cease to amaze me. I belong to a lot of homeschool groups on Facebook and Meetup and all of these Instagram and all these Twitter places, all the social media groups that you can imagine that have to do with homeschooling. I belong to a lot of them. I saw several posts in the last couple of weeks that made me think of a New Year experience. I wanted to share that with you because I know that as people who might have just decided to start homeschooling, you might be facing this challenge. I was at this big, humongous New Year's Eve party in the community where we were living in Puerto Rico. We had paid a lot of money. We had taken the kids. This was a special outing, right? They sit us next to this lovely couple from New York. We really like them. They really like us. Everything's wonderful. He's a retired barrister. She's a retired doctor. She's asking me where I went to school, what my PhD is in, all of these things. And we're just like really gelling. We enjoy the same type of theater, the same type of books. And then all of a sudden she says, or she asked, how are your kids enjoying the name of the school in the community? And I said, oh, our kids don't go to that school. And she says, oh my goodness, you're not sending them to the public schools here in the area there. I said, no, we homeschool. Oh. Wrong words. This woman completely flipped out. I received a 20-minute lecture on why I was being irresponsible, neglecting my children, depriving them of socialization, why I was being an all-around terrible mother. The whole time, I teeter between wanting to laugh and wanting to punch this woman in the face. Number one, more important than anything else, it's nobody's business except your own. Everyone has an opinion, but no one's opinion should matter but yours and your spouse or your partner or your significant other, whatever the situation might be. It is a decision that you need to make as a family in the best interest of your family. And you don't need to justify it to anyone else. What I have learned is if you get into the justification game, it only becomes more and more convoluted. You're not going to be able to have a logical, cool explanation with people who are being completely irrational. And what do I mean by irrational? Back to the, it's none of their business. For starters, none of their business. This is a family choice, a family decision. Whatever your reason is, the pandemic, your child has special needs, you wanted to try it out. Whatever it is. The only thing that matters is that you're comfortable with it. Honestly, when people challenge you like this, for me, it really allowed me to determine my own comfort level. Because I remember the first couple of times that I was challenged, I really made an effort to explain myself. And then I thought, why? It's not their business. They don't know what our family's gone through or how we arrived at our decision. Back to, frankly, it's none of their business. There's no better way to put it. It is truly nobody's business except your family. By your family, I don't mean your mother or your in-laws or whoever wants to give you their opinion. If they might be well-intentioned, but their idea of what homeschooling is and the reality that is homeschooling is completely different. My sister, who's a nurse in California, once said to me, only the weirdos homeschool. I said, okay. What exactly is a weirdo? Could you please define that for me? Because it seems like a very broad word. They have no friends. They isolate themselves. They're survivalist. They're deeply religious people. I was like, well, perhaps there might be individuals that are like that. But trust me, as you get out into the homeschool community, hopefully sometime soon, you're going to find out that the majority of people are not weirdos. Or if they're weirdos in a good way. I think one of the most shocking things that I found out about the community is that there's a lot of retired teachers. Women who have given up their career for the time being to homeschool their children. And as far as the kids being weirdos, I haven't found that to be the case. As far as the kids being weird, let me tell you that when my kids were attending school, when they were in preschool, they had a large group of friends. But very quickly, the families began dividing themselves by the people that had lived in the town all their lives, the people who had just moved there, and the people who had just moved there, like my family, we were not really included in a lot of things. In fact, we were often excluded. So we didn't really have that full sense of community. It never fully developed. When we moved to Florida, where there was, of course, a lot more racial diversity, religious diversity, cultural diversity, all kinds of diversity, we found out that that didn't change because parents were so busy here. They were busy with work. They were busy taking the kids to classes. It was very difficult to connect. In addition, most of the families that attended this private school lived all over the area, many within 40 minutes of the school. So it was a big deal to set up a play date. Frankly, you were limited to the kids that were in the same classroom as your own children. You might not necessarily like the family or might not necessarily feel that the family is a good fit with your family, but you're kind of stuck in that group. Things really changed when we began homeschooling because we could select who we wanted to socialize with. And we belonged to so many groups that we were quite spread out all over the county. We had friends that were really close by, friends that were further away, friends that lived a couple of cities away. So we traveled quite extensively. The girls participated in theater, in dance, in taekwondo, in music lessons, piano, guitar, ukulele, voice lessons. We met groups of people that shared more of our interests and more of our values. So our homeschool community was really a lot stronger than our traditional school community. But again, everybody's different. Maybe you're not interested in that level of socialization for your kids. Maybe your kids are not interested in it. I certainly have met children that are homeschooled that are highly introverted and they just want to have one or two friends. But I often hear from their parents that this is a much better situation because they are able to connect with children that share their own interest. The bonding is stronger. They feel safer in socializing with the other kids. So there's a certain comfort level there that the kids were not able to develop in the traditional school setting. Are the kids weirdos? Maybe mine are. Yeah, maybe they are. I mean, come on. How many 13-year-olds want to be the next so-and-so that sings musical theater. And I have one of them that's selling inflatable ducks in Amazon. And I have another one that's constantly cosplaying. And who knows what bug my 5-year-old son's going to come up with. Maybe they are all weirdos, but you know what they are? They're happy weirdos. And that's what's important to me. I don't care what other people think. As far as their education, people often argue that homeschoolers fall behind. And I have met that kind of homeschoolers. I had a couple of girlfriends that moved from Florida to California. One of them had no problems. The other one was investigated by the state. And the issue there was, for some moms, it is difficult to homeschool because they can't separate that homeschool time from being a mom. I know that sounds weird, but it's one thing when you're being the mom and their teacher, and it's another thing when you're being their mom. But I'll talk about that in another episode. She was behind, but she wasn't neglectful. Her child wasn't so far behind that he couldn't catch up. She was pretty young. In less than 3 months, she was right on pace with everybody. But more often than not, when homeschoolers that I've met decide to go back to traditional school settings, they're tested by the state. Most of them test above grade level. In fact, there was a family where the girl had decided she wanted to go back to school and the family was fully supported. And they tested her in the local high school. She should have been entering the 9th grade. But turns out she was testing advanced 12th grade in almost every single subject. The school didn't really know what to do with her because she was so advanced compared to the younger students. But then if they put her in the older grades, she was going to socialize with older students. That was a challenge that the family had to manage. But it is a challenge that I often see in homeschool kids. Parents can be committed to homeschooling and homeschool in many different ways. But the parents that are committed to have college-bound teens, most of the time when they try to return to that traditional setting, like I said, they're far more advanced. And no, many of these moms do not have a college degree. Most moms have high school and some college. More and more, I'm seeing retired teachers or teachers who have chosen to retire. And I have seen some professional women, but the majority of the moms that homeschool and just do an amazing job are high school graduates. So when people say things like, oh, are you qualified to teach your child? Yes. Yes, you are. So what did I say to this lady who almost ruined my New Year's Eve party? I listened to her and I thanked her for her opinion. And I was done. I didn't argue with her because that wouldn't have gotten me anything. Frankly, it seems like the most you try to explain, the more aggravated you become and the less that people listen. So I didn't choose to go that route. I just chose to thank her for her opinion. And she felt great about herself. Okay. And my party wasn't ruined. And those girls that she was concerned were not well socialized were impressing everybody at the table with their 10th grade vocabulary, even though they were only in the 3rd grade. And they were having conversations about the arts and politics and dancing around in the dance floor with adults and kids and just having a blast. I was being complimented constantly by everybody at this table, most of them professionals whose children had already graduated from college, about how well behaved, how well socialized, how intelligent my children were. Was it a contradiction? Yes, it was. The thing about it was, I understood that this woman had very limited knowledge of homeschoolers, so I was not offended. It felt great that everybody was complimenting indirectly the great job that I was doing homeschooling my kids, socializing them and educating them, and turning them into well-rounded, imperfect individuals. Hey, if you like my show, please download and subscribe so we can continue to stay in touch. If you are new to the show, please check out some of the older episodes that have some great tips and some great experiences. Always remember, life can be overwhelming. Homeschooling doesn't have to be. Join our sometimes challenging but always rewarding homeschool journey by subscribing to our podcast or blog or YouTube channel. For link and resources, please visit our website. Till next time, enjoy your kiddos.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of Homeschooling with Dr. B. Head over to homeschoolingwithdrb.com for more information and resources. That's homeschoolingwithdrb.com. Until next time.